Hey guys, welcome to Immediate Review. So this episode is going to be a little bit different. On our channel we normally talk about movies and do movie reviews and things like that. This is going to be the first video game that we're going to be reviewing. Dakota, he's going to miss out, he didn't check this one out. I just wanted to give my 2 cents on the discussion about The Last of Us Part 2. A lot of people don't really like it, and yeah, I'm going to talk about why I think it's excellent, and why I think that the story that took place it happened exactly like it should have. Of course, there is going to be spoilers ahead for The Last of Us 1 and 2. So if you're okay with that, then let's go. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is The Last of Us 1. If you don't know, if you've never played the game or know about it, the game is a masterpiece, honestly. It is very, very good. I remember in 2013 when it came out, I was like, I didn't have a PlayStation, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch Let's Plays of this. I'm going to most definitely play this game. And so I wanted to experience it, and unfortunately by the time that I was able to, my motion sickness was really bad, and it was just very uncomfortable to play games in general. So I did play about halfway through it, and eventually stopped, but the rest of it I ended up watching Let's Plays of, and that's how I watched The Last of Us Part 2, which is part of the reason why I want to review it. Because it is very much like a film, and I'm going to be talking about the story and from both characters' perspectives, and why I think that everything was justified. The Last of Us 1 is a zombie apocalypse game where a fungus called cordyceps transfers over, mutates, and affects humans. And that fungus, right now, is a real fungus that affects ants, and it does zombify them, and they perch themselves up, bite into leaves, and the fungus will spread spores to the rest of the hive and kill a bunch of them. And yeah, it's super cool and horrifying. And so that's the premise of this, is that it transferred over to humans, and now humans become these like fungus-ridden zombies that bite people. So the main plot of the game is that Joel loses his daughter. Joel's our main character that we play as through a majority of the game. And, you know, he's just a rough and rugged dude. And he loses his daughter and kind of just becomes like a hardcore, like, smuggler. He is, you know, doing various jobs for all of these different factions that exist. And we hear rumors about a faction called Fireflies. And this woman comes to Joel and is like, look, I got this girl. You need to get her to the Fireflies. I'm not going to be able to get out of the city, so you got to do it. And so that's what Joel does. And they go on a journey across America and end up getting to where the Fireflies are. And, you know, there's a bunch more that happens in the game. But none of that is really important. Most of it is just Joel builds a relationship with Ellie. Their relationship's tested, but it's mostly about what happens in the final moments that is really impactful. And, you know, throughout it, they kind of build a father-daughter kind of relationship, but Joel takes it to a level that is like not okay. And this is the first part of why I think that what happened in The Last of Us Part 2 is completely justified. Okay, so what happens when they get to the Fireflies is they both end up getting knocked out because they both, basically Ellie's drowned because she can't swim. So he's given her CPR and he doesn't stop CPR. They knock him out and they take her in. The girl who gave Joel Ellie in the first place, she is at the hospital, and she managed to get there, and she's basically been, you know, taken down a notch in terms of her position as the Fireflies because she didn't arrive with Ellie. And so when she finds out that Ellie is here, she's like, oh my god, this is a big deal. So Ellie's knocked out, and they basically take her in and they run a bunch of tests, and they find out that, you know, she is the person that they're looking for. She is immune. She has the virus, and that the cordyceps has binded to her brain, and that the only way to create a vaccine is to kill her. Yeah, they make that decision. They're like, okay, like, this is what Ellie wanted. And that's one thing that the girl says as well, is that she knows that this is what Ellie would want. And that's important. Basically, they decide to wake up Joel. Through the conversation, Joel finds out that it's going to kill Ellie. And he's like, no, I'm not going to let it happen. And they, you know, get into a tussle as he's being escorted out. And yeah, he stalks up and goes through and murders the doctors and the surgeons, and basically, like, destroys humanity's hope for a cure. I will say that MatPat released for Game Theory recently released a video talking about how there's no way that they could have made a fungus vaccine. I just want to say that that's in the logic of the human world and not in the logic of the video game world. It's very possible that with this disease that nobody fucking knows about, that they would have been able to come up with a vaccine. And plus, it wasn't even a vaccine that they were trying to do. They're trying to replicate her, which is beyond the level of infection. Like, they were trying to figure out how to infect people in the same way that she got infected in order to, you know, replicate this, like, genome that's happening or whatever. So with that, we don't know if the virus could or could not have been made. And it's up to Ellie to make that choice. It's her life, and she deserved that choice.
You can't save her. Even if you get her out of here, then what? How long before she's torn to pieces by a pack of clickers? That is, if she hasn't been raped and murdered first.
It ain't for you to decide.
It's what she'd want. And you know it.
Joel is, basically lies to Ellie, says there's plenty of immune people around, and that those people are being tested on, and that it doesn't matter, and it hasn't made any difference, and there's no vaccine that can ever be made, and her immunity means nothing. And this, like, messes her up. And then when they finally get to Jackson, as they're looking over the town, Ellie stops Joel and tells him a quick conversation about how she got infected.
Hey, wait. Back in Boston, back when I was bitten, I wasn't alone. My best friend was there. And she got bit too. We didn't know what to do. So, she says, let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together. I'm still waiting for my turn.
Ellie.
Her name was Riley, and she was the first to die. And then it was Tess. And then Sam.
None of that is on you.
Oh, you don't understand.
I struggled for a long time with surviving. And you... No matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
I believe this is why the game is called The Last of Us. when I originally heard of it, I was like, yeah, The Last of Us, the last of humanity, all of humans coming together. And if you play the game, that's definitely not what's happening. Like, humanity is not coming together at all. They're just sects of isolated people that are all vying against each other for whatever resources they can and whatever means of survival. Like, there's no semblance of unity throughout, like, large groups of people. I think that The Last of Us is called that not because of humanity, but because of Ellie and her friends. She says there that she was like, she's been waiting for her turn. You know, like, The Last of Us is her group of friends. Like, she is the last of her friends that she watched die. You know, like, that's messed up. You know, and she wanted her life to mean something. Joel takes that away from her. So now we cut to Last of Us Part 2, right? We get to play as Abby. Okay, so Abby, we don't know what kind of situation that she's dealing with. We just kind of get introduced to her. We know she's looking for somebody, and it's a pretty heavily insinuated that it's Joel. Like, if you've played the game or if you've watched it, it's pretty heavily insinuated, right? Joel comes in contact with Abby, and Abby shoots his fucking leg off with a shotgun when she finds out who he is, and tourniquets his leg, beats the living crap out of him with a golf club. And then when Ellie shows up after a series of gameplay and introduction to characters, which I won't get into now, you can play the game if you want. She storms in, gets taken down, and Abby kills Joel in front of Ellie. Ellie is super pissed, but they decide to not kill anybody else, and they let her live. Tommy, Joel's brother, and Ellie, they basically have a conversation, and Ellie's like, I can't let it stand. Like, I have to go after these people, and I have to kill all of them. Like, revenge is the only solution. And for some reason, the majority of people are, like, completely on that side. That just, like, revenge is the only solution, and that just blind, violent rage and murder is the only way to solve this, you know, blind, violent murder. Ellie plans to leave, and Tommy says, just give me a couple days. And instead, Tommy goes. So Tommy is heading to Seattle, and that's where they have a feeling that this group is, right? So Ellie has a kind of romantic interest at this point, Dina, and they are, you know, kind of decide to, you know, travel together. And I really, really like their relationship dynamic. It's very, very good. And, you know, they have chemistry, and I feel like their relationship works. You know, apparently people are upset by it, but yeah, it's really good. This is when The Last of Us 2 really starts, and we get 3 days perspective from both characters. So we know that Abby is in Seattle, and we get 3 days in Ellie's shoes, where she is just blind set on hunting down and killing Abby. So wherever they're like searching and trying to find information, they figure out where she's at, they go there, she's not there, they figure out where she's at, she goes there, and yeah, she's not there. So over that time, we know that we find out that Dina's pregnant. Dina finds out that Ellie is immune, and we find out that Dina's pregnant from Jesse's baby, and Jesse actually comes along as well. So we have Tommy, Jesse, Ellie, and Dina from Jackson, all in Seattle. And yeah, basically they go around, they eventually make their way to the aquarium, and Ellie throughout this has taken out a number of people that we get introduced to later in Abby's perspective. She ends up killing a pregnant woman named Mel, and she was in a relationship with Owen. We'll get into that when we get to Abby's perspective. Ellie does some like horrific things, and at one point like pushes a girl down into spores with her and tortures the shit out of her to get information about where Abby is. Like she literally destroys herself. She loses all sense of who she is to just commit to this murderous fucking rampage that, like, doesn't need to happen. After she kills a pregnant woman and her, like, husband, she goes back and they're like, okay, we didn't find Abby, you know, let's just head out and we'll head home, and this will be the end of it, you know, it'll be fine. And yeah, as they're having a good old time, like Naughty Dog likes to do, bad shit happens. So Abby shows up and she's got some bald archer kid with her, and yeah, they've got Tommy at gunpoint. And Ellie gives up her gun. There's no cure because of me, just like let them go. And she's like, you killed my friends. Tommy like jumps and grabs the gun, and it cuts. And then we start over again. And now we're in Abby's perspective. We find out that Abby is the daughter of the surgeon that Joel killed. And she left the Fireflies and joined the WLF. And they've been in Seattle, and they are fighting this group called the Seraphites, who are kind of religious, murderous fanatics, basically. She's much more like, I mean, she's kind of socially awkward, just like Ellie, but there's a lot more people that she's interacting with, so that social awkwardness is kind of highlighted a little bit more. Plus, there's a lot of sexual tension between her and Owen. But the character dynamics between them are really, really good. And a lot of people, you know, when you're just like, oh, like Abby, like I've been trying to kill this person the whole game, I don't want to play as this person. And you do feel that a little bit, but these characters really grow on you, and they did a great job of just bringing you into these characters' worlds. If you want another good review, check out Video Game Donkey on this one. He did a great one. Abby's perspective is so much more human. It focuses way more on relatable human tasks. It's not just like hunt down this person, hunt down the person. It's like, you know, oh, we got to go find Owen, and then she finds Owen, and then she ends up meeting up with these kids that are scars, but or Seraphites, but the Seraphites are trying to kill them. She ends up, you know, saving them. The bald kid's sister gets her arm smashed in. They have this like whole thing with like, she's like clip her wings and she gets her arm smashed in. There's like compartment syndrome. It's fucking gnarly. And they have to end up going to the hospital to track down surgical supplies. And that's kind of where the plot leads into talking to Lev, who's the bald kid. And this kid ends up teaching Abby throughout this experience, and ends up shaping her in a way that pulls her away from the WLF and pulls her more close to like Owen's perspective and Lev's perspective, because she's just, you know, so set on like the WLF is what needs to happen, when, you know, when in reality, like, they need to be finding a cure, and the Fireflies need to get back together and, like, you know, bonding, like joining a religious cult or some fucking ragtag army that's just going around murdering people. It's just not, it's not good. And she learns this throughout this whole thing. They have a cool line as they're crossing over to get to the hospital, where Lev talks about only when I'm weak can I find my true strength. And it talks about how when you're scared, your body is preparing you for the next for the danger that you're about to face, and that you feel weak and scared, but you're at your peak performance. It's like you're more focused and agile and just like prepared for the situation. Like your body is preparing you for that, and that's what you should focus on, and not focus on all of the negatives that come with being afraid. And it's super cool. And Abby, like, you know, she conquers her fear and is able to cross this crazy ass bridge in like, you know, skyscraper tall Seattle wind. Like, it's awesome. So they end up heading back to the aquarium, and they amputate the sister's arm, and she, you know, is a beast, and, you know, decides to, you know, get up and is like doing stuff with them. And they're talking about how they're all going to head to Santa Barbara, and they've got to look for Lev. And Lev leaves for the main island that these Seraphites are living on, to grab his mom because he wants to bring his mom with them. His mom is like a crazy religious zealot and like attacks him, and he has to like murder her. And Abby and the sister track him down on the island while the WLF are attacking the island during the storm, and it kind of just climaxes into this crazy fucking battle where Abby like throws away her ideology because the WLF just murder the sister, and the sister kills Isaac, the leader of the WLF, and it just sends everything into turmoil. And they end up finally escaping, Lev and her, on a boat and get back to the aquarium. And that's when Ellie, like, that's the night that Ellie killed them all. And it's like she gets back and she just fucking throws up, and it's like all of these people's like plans and hopes and dreams and futures were just fucking snuffed for Joel, like a guy that took away Ellie's right to choose. You know what I mean? So it's like it doesn't make any sense. She's just destroying herself and just throwing everything away, and she completely like destroys Abby's life too. And Abby's like, Lev finds the map that Ellie's been carrying around, so they hunt her down, and that's when we line back up with Ellie's story at the end of day 3, where Abby is confronting Ellie, and you play as Abby, and you fight Ellie, and Abby is just, she's ripped, like she is a big fucking chick, you know, like she's beefy, she's a soldier, and Ellie is wounded and is like small, and you know, like even in the gameplay she has to rely on stealth for everything, right? So it's like it makes sense that Abby beats the living fucking shit out of her, and you know, like is just fucking bloodthirsty, like nearly fucking kills Dina, kills Jesse, you know, we like fucking shoots Tommy in the fucking like neck, I'm pretty sure. Like it's a fucking massacre. She fucking like destroys them. So when she's about to cut Dina's neck, she's like, no, she's not a part of this, she's pregnant. And it's like Ellie had just killed a pregnant girl earlier that day, and Abby's like, good, and goes to fucking cut her neck, and Lev says, Abby, stop. And Abby stops. And it's like the old Abby wouldn't have done that. But this new Abby that has relinquished the wolves and has sided more with the good parts of the religion of the Seraphites, she's like, I'm gonna let Ellie live. I'm done with this. I'm gonna end the circle of hatred right now. And what does it lead to after that but fucking paradise? Right? Like, Dina and Ellie are like on a farm living out the fucking dream. Like in the zombie apocalypse, they've got a farm. Dina's had Jesse's baby. Like they made it back, and they're connected to Jackson. They have this beautiful view, and Ellie's just like, they just have this perfect relationship together, and everything is just great. And then Ellie has panic attacks. She just, whenever there's these situations where she just flashes back to seeing Joel getting murdered, and it's like super traumatizing for her, and she just can't let it go. You know, Tommy ends up showing up and saying like, hey, this is where Abby is, and Ellie's, you know, having these panic attacks and having all these thoughts, and she's like, I can't let it go. I have to follow the lead. And it's exactly what Abby was saying to Owen earlier in the game. Like, when they had to find Joel, it's like, it's a lead and I have to see it through. Like, they're just, you know, relentlessly compelled, and they mirror each other. And it's amazing storytelling. It really is. Like, it's to tell a similar story on this level and have them still be so different of a group dynamic is crazy. Like, Naughty Dog they're geniuses. Ellie, she decides to leave in the middle of the night, and Tina confronts her and is like, I'm not gonna do this again. Like, you don't have to do this. And she's like, you know, that's your choice. Like, you're gonna have to decide what you want, and because this is what I want. Ellie goes for Abby, and she finds her. They go to Santa Barbara, and Abby had traveled down there with Lev, and they were looking for Firefly Outpost. So in the Firefly Outpost, they find a hidden bunker, and that bunker has radio signals that go through them. They end up contacting more Fireflies, give them information. My dad was stationed here. Here's his name. He was the head of it. I'm his daughter. And they're like, oh man, you need to get yourself to where we are. So they leave the building and they get attacked by slavers. So those slavers end up holding them for 3 months until Ellie shows up. She frees a bunch of prisoners and ends up tracking down Abby to the pillars. So the pillars, they have a bunch of bodies tied up, and she's obviously been there for a little while, and Ellie cuts her down. And she goes and cuts Lev down, and she carries Lev to the boat, and she's walking over to, you know, to the boat, and she takes off her backpack, and she holds her like wound on her side and looks at her hand, and she sees Joel, and she turns around and is like, I can't let you leave. And she's just like haunted by this guy, like haunted. And they have this just fucking sad fight that's just so hard to watch. And if you watch it, it's like the music is not happy. Like, it's not it's not like epic or intense. It's fucking sad. The whole thing isn't supposed to be this like glorious revenge. Like, the story is about how revenge fucking destroys you. And they have this fight, and Ellie gets the upper hand, and she's just fucking strangling this girl, like drowning her underwater, and she sees Joel again. And it's just like, the context of the scene that they flash to, we'll talk about that scene later, but the context of that scene is like a negative. Abby bit off her fucking, like, these 2 fingers. Like, she can never play guitar again, or at least well. And she threw all of that away, all of her relationships, for Joel. Like, do you people who like support the whole like Joel needs a revenge story, like, do you really think that like it was worth her throwing away everything? Like, all of her relationships are destroyed. People fucking died. Her friends died. Like, she lost her fucking fingers. Like, she lost everything. And all of that could have been avoided if she just let it go. If she just been like, yeah, Joel died. He pissed off a lot of people. He fucking took away my right to choose. And yeah, I just, you know, that's the most important thing about this, is that it's Ellie's choice. And in every situation so far, Joel has made the choice for Ellie. And I feel like everybody that's supporting Joel in this is completely disregarding Ellie's choice. There's even an Angry Joe video where he reacts to the ending, and every time Ellie's like, my choice, he's like, oh, you don't know that. It's just completely disregarding her decisions about it. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why people don't think that Ellie deserves to make the choice about her immunity. Like, I don't get it. Like, she 100% does deserve that. And the fact that Joel took it away right there, like, even then, he's a piece of shit. And the way that he did it, like, through murdering fucking people, like, people that could fucking save the world, like, I think he got what he deserved. Like, honestly, I think he did. I really think that that this game is just a masterpiece, and is played out completely perfectly. Like, the way that the character dynamics work, and the way that it's telling this, like, you know, like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, revenge is bad story, but it's like it shows the outcomes of this. Like, it shows you revenge doesn't equal justice, you know? And it's like, I really feel like this just isn't the right way to go about it. And this game highlights that so perfectly. It's just, it completely lays out how you destroy yourself. And it relates completely back to the song that Joel plays. And the lines are, if I ever were to lose you, I would surely lose myself. And that's exactly what happens. Like, she loses herself completely. Everything about her, her entire identity. Like, her ability to play guitar, her relationships with Dina and her friends. Like, everything. She lost all of it. But she chose that. And it's like, she chose that because Joel took away her choice in the first place. And I don't think it's justified. But yeah, if you don't think that that's how Ellie really feels, I'm gonna leave you with the last scene of The Last of Us 2, and yeah, I'll let her words speak for herself. Anyways, guys, see you later.
Hey.
What are you drinking?
Coffee.
Where'd you get that?
Those people that came through last week.
Oh.
A little embarrassed as to what I had to trade to get it, but it's not bad.
I had Seth under control.
Yeah, I know.
And you need to stop harassing Jesse about my patrols.
Okay. Dina. Is she your girlfriend?
No. No, that was just one kiss. It doesn't mean anything. She just, I don't know why she did that.
But you do like her.
So stupid.
Look, I have no idea what that girl's intentions are, but I do know that she would be lucky to have you.
You're such an asshole.
I'm not trying to.
I was supposed to die in that hospital. My life would have fucking mattered. But you took that from me.
If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
I'd like that.
Okay. I'll see you around.
Yep.